Hey, busy business people. I am here today with another entrepreneur taking action, Carmen Williams. Carmen helps people get and use VAs effectively, and I'm getting the scoops today on how she does it, so stay tuned. All right, so Carmen, VAs, what can they do?
Yeah, so virtual assistants, they're not, I'm not talking about AI, I'm talking about real, intelligent people that are eager to support you in your business. In our case, the virtual assistants are based in the Philippines, and they can do a whole range of things for your business. Now, obviously, it depends on the person that you hire, and you need to scope out the role really well. But I'll just shoot through some common examples. So they can help you manage your calendar, manage your emails, post for you on social media, send your bio when you picture through, whenever you get on podcasts. They can send invoices. Like basically, it's endless. Just think about the support you need in your business, and then work out if a virtual assistant can provide that support.
Oh, I think that is like super important because it's like having that help, especially trying to as you're starting up your business, as you're trying to grow, you just can't do everything yourself. And I loved like we
Yes.
were kind of chatting a little bit before, and you had this story of somebody who was struggling to communicate with their VA, and that was one of the things that you really help with. So, kind of speak to that, not just like getting a VA and what can they do, but how does it work as you're starting to learn to work with a VA? Like, what kind of problems are happening there?
Yeah, so a lot of people out there support people to get virtual assistants, which is fantastic. But what I really like to focus on with our clients is not only getting the virtual assistant, but supporting people to work really well with the virtual assistant and supporting the business owner to communicate and delegate to the virtual assistant and supporting the virtual assistant to communicate and ask questions of the business owner. Because as a business owner, you often think you're making sense, but you often are not making sense. And so I shared a story with Christina where we had a client, and on day two, the client was really frustrated. There was just this communication disconnect. I went in and I spoke to the client, I spoke to the virtual assistant, and I just suggested like a tweak in the communication. And they applied the tweak, and now they're fine. Like they're off and racing, and they've been working together for 2 years now. So sometimes a small tweak can make a huge difference to the relationship.
Oh, that is amazing. Yeah, a simple tweak and then 2 years later being with the same VA. Like, I've talked to some people who can't keep the same VA for more than 2 days, let alone 2 years. And it's like, they're so crucial though, and I think it's as a business owner, it's really easy to just kind of do things, and it's a little bit more work to start with when you have to think about like how do things need to be done? How do you build up the checklist or the SOPs for doing them? How do you like teach another human to do something that you just do yourself, and it just feels harder to start
Mm.
with. But once you do it, I can tell you from experience, oh, you can't go back. You want to delegate everything.
Yeah, I say to people, Christina, that a word of warning, it gets really addictive. Once you get good support as a business owner, and you just want more. So I just say to all the clients, like all our agreements are just month to month because we want you to be happy and stay with us because you're having a great time. I said, don't worry, you'll be back in 6 months asking for another virtual assistant because it's highly addictive.
It is because you can get them to do so many things, and it's usually the stuff that you don't want to do. That's the first things.
Mm.
And I know one of the things I found is that the easiest thing to delegate is the stuff that is boring to me. Because if it's
Yes.
boring, I'm not going to do it at the quality that even I would ask someone else to do it at.
I
Like,
tell you what, my virtual assistants are better at me than most things.
yes, and that's my favorite part. Because you find someone who's like, they enjoy doing the things that you don't like to do.
That's
And
it.
a lot of them tend to be very detail oriented. They can go down a checklist, then like their happy space is going through all day and completing a checklist. That is my
So
torture
we've
space.
got a deep, yeah, me too. So we've got a detail orientated test for the virtual assistants, and I took it the other day, and I failed because I am not a detail orientated person. And I tell you what, most of the business owners I speak to are not as well. There's a few exceptions, But look, most of us business owners like to think visionary and ooh, have ideas, but the detail, like it just makes me want to spew, Christina.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can believe it. It's like I have migrated to the point now where I have two COOs. I have one for my personal brand and I have one for my business. And then
Ah,
they have like I have an executive assistant on top of that. And she helps out all
it's
of us with just
amazing.
whatever we need. And then I have client heroes managing client relationships. And it's like the more people I could put in charge of the things that I sucked at, it's like that's literally how I determined my org chart was like, I suck at this. I hate this. I keep getting this wrong when I have to do this.
Yeah, I flipped it on its head the other day because people come to me going, "Oh, what can a virtual assistant do?" And I said, "Actually, let me just tell you the three things I do in my business, and everything else my team does." So the three things I do is like create content, think up visionary ideas, and like write marketing emails, which I guess is a subset of creating content. Like that's all I do.
Yep. That was the biggest thing that I figured out too, because like I just went to Austin a couple weeks ago for Digital Marketer Certified Partner Training Day. That's a mouthful. And I was gone there for like a whole week. And the only thing I got my laptop out for while I was there was to like finish my presentation because I was one of the trainers for training day and I didn't have my presentation done. So I got my laptop out to do that, but I didn't do anything. I came back from a week out of town and my to-do list wasn't any longer.
That's
It was like
amazing. You're a master
fascinating.
delegator.
I think my team
And
is at
everyone
mastering
listening.
kicking me out of things, not so much delegating. Because like I came back and I was like, "Hey, how did things
Yeah.
go?" And they're like, "Better without you."
I do say to my team when I go away, like at least you get a break from my crazy ideas that I have. Like you can just like relax for a week and just do the doing.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with mine. I think they enjoyed that. There were no more crazy ideas happening that week. It was like even the content creation, which is a big part of what I'm supposed to be doing right now. They're helping. Woo, choking. They help me do that now. So it's like I was
That's
meeting with
amazing.
one of my COOs earlier today, and I was like, why don't we just transparency on the process? So like we'll create content with you helping me create content.
Mm,
So should be very weird, but I think we're going to do that starting next week. So
that's amazing. You're leveling up. And for the people listening, going, "Oh my goodness, they live in a different world." I don't know about you, Christina, but I started really small. Like I started with a part-time virtual assistant supporting me with LinkedIn, and I didn't have this fantasy that I'm describing now. So it takes time, and you have to build on it, and it takes a bit of effort to build a great team.
oh, it was even smaller for me. Like I started over 15 years ago and I had physical
Yeah.
office, still had the day job and was kind of doing stuff on the side and finally made the leap to going full time. And it was just me and my husband working. And so we had a couple of contractors. It was not going well. We decided we were going to go to full employees. And the first employee was
Mm.
going to be an office manager. Because at the time I didn't even know about VAs. I didn't even know they existed. It wasn't a thing. An office manager
Yes.
was the closest because like I don't want to answer the phone. I hate the phone. I didn't want to answer the phone. So I was like, I need a human who can answer the phone. And I hate paperwork and I hate confirming meetings and I hate telling people directions for how to get to the office. And so like I just started with here's the list of crap I don't want to do. And I had a payroll company come by and I interviewed the office manager, had the payroll company guy setting up our payroll come in on the same day, interviewed her, hired her, told her to go talk to him and learn how to hire herself from like a paperwork standpoint. And then I had a couple other people lined up that she was going to then handle hiring after that.
I love it. I love it. Like you can just completely just hands off. It's like find out how to hire yourself. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And it was like I just kind of went off over to the side and hung out with my husband while she got herself hired through the payroll company. And then the payroll company taught her how to hire the other couple people that were being hired the same day. And it was, I just sat here and had fun.
I love that story. That's cool.
So it's just kind of expanded since then. And I mean, it's like you just find, like, this doesn't make me happy anymore. So let's get someone else to do this. Like, it's still a very valuable part of our business, different things that need to be done. But I just don't want to do them. Like,
Yes.
I tell people all the time, my to-do list is where things go to die. If you want to get it
Yeah.
done, it
I
has to get
completely
moved from
agree.
my list to someone else's.
I'm meeting new people at the moment on dating apps, and when I tell them about my team, I got a team of 82, in this company, they're like, "Oh, you must be so busy," and I'm just like, "Yeah, no."
It's like you own a team of assistants. That's the point.
I mean, you're the one that's got the 9 to 5 job, dude. Like, you're the busy one. I'm like chilling out, dreaming up of ideas. Like, that's pretty much all I do.
Yep. Oh, it's so much fun though, and I feel like that is most entrepreneurs though. I mean, we just ideate all the time, and we need at least one other human that will like hold us accountable to our ideas and filter them so we don't try and do them all at one time. But then the ones that need to be done, like, you need a team.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've taught my team when I go manic and send them 20 things at 2 a.m. That when they log in, first of all, they're not allowed to have their notifications on when they're not working. Second, when they log in, just take a deep breath and go, Carmen's gone manic. We'll talk to her and ask her what's the most important thing. So, like, we've got this system of dealing with my unusualness.
Well, and I think that's important is to create those not just like communication processes, but communication barriers. It's like I get onto my team
Yeah, good
all the
decision.
time because I'm like, you shouldn't be working right now. Why are you answering my Slack message? It's like, and I make sure they know how to mute it, put it on, it's like you shouldn't be getting dinged, but they love setting their own schedule, so that makes it like next to impossible for me to set those ground rules because it's like they might be working on the weekend, but it's because they took a day off during the week and they're just they're juggling their own time and things like that. So it's tricky.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's a bit of like give and take, but I guess I share with my team, and I guess everyone listening, I really want you to consider the impact of notifications. So, for example, in my workday, I've got email, LinkedIn messages, TikTok messages, Instagram messages, all these things coming in. I look at none of them. The only tab I have open if I'm working that day is Slack. So Jonathan, my virtual assistant, is in all of my messages, and he deals with 90% of them, but occasionally he'll send me one going, "Hey, Carmen, I think this guy's trying to crack onto you," or, "Hey, Carmen, not sure what to do. Is this a strong lead?" Or, "I think you know this person." And he'll send them through to me in Slack. So I don't have to look at the rest of it.
Oh, that's nice. Now I have more goals. Now, how do you manage
he also
some of that
manages
kind of
my
stuff though, so that it's authentic? Because that was one of the things people tell me all the time. They're like, I don't go into my social media. I have VAs manage my social media, and it's like, but I know you, and I just interacted with you on a LinkedIn message, and now that I know that that might not be you, and it starts feeling
yeah.
like
So
inauthentic.
yeah, so it's a really good question, and I think it's a mix, and people mix it up different ways. So one of the things that I do is, for me, it's great to say that it's my virtual assistant. Like, it's advertising what virtual assistants can do. For some of our clients, their virtual assistants identify them as the executive assistant. It makes them look a bit bigger than what they are. So what happens is someone goes, "Oh, I'm interested in talking about a virtual assistant," just saying a LinkedIn message. Jonathan replies going, "Hey, just got your message. It's Jonathan, Carmen's virtual assistant. I thought you'd appreciate a speedier reply, because if it's left up to me, it's never going to be done. Let's just get that out there. Carmen would love to have a chat with you. And then he sets up an appointment." So he identifies himself. So by the time people meet with me, they often already know Jonathan.
Well, that's handy.
Hmm.
What about
and then they say, "I want a Jonathan too."
Well, yeah, who wouldn't, right? What about like commenting on posts and things like that, though? Is that Jonathan or is that you?
I've disinvested in a lot of that. So initially I had virtual assistants commenting on posts and things, but I've just disinvested. I've decided there's other activities that are better, suited to my virtual assistant's time. So yeah, I think it depends on how you run your business. So I know some coaches have closed Facebook groups where they got their people in there, and so I've seen them do it different ways. One is a virtual assistant can pretend to be you, which that's a bit dicey. The second thing is they can identify as the coach's team member and go great, put a supportive comment on, but not pretend to be you. Or some coaches go to me, Carmen, actually, this group, they're my bread and butter, and I love engaging with them. So I go in there for 10 minutes once a day and I just do it. Like that's something that they think is valuable for them to do. So it depends on your approach.
That makes a lot of sense. And I like that idea of the assistant not trying to pretend to be you, because I think that's really the rough part. Another thing I've heard a lot of people, and like I've experienced this myself too, if you try and get someone else to manage your social media, they can actually get locked out because they're from like the Philippines or somewhere else, and you can end up with your Facebook account or your LinkedIn account shut down. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So with LinkedIn, you are going against the terms of service by having anyone else in there, but everyone does it. Even if they're in the country, people have someone else in there. You can't run a big business and be present on LinkedIn without having someone else in there. So there's different ways to do it. Some people believe that using VPN can actually minimize the risk of that. Touch wood, I haven't had any problems, and I've got a number of team members that are in my LinkedIn. So yeah, like it's I'm breaking the rules, but they're letting me at the moment. So I haven't had any problems with any of my accounts on any of my platforms. So
What about the like two-factor
hopefully that stays
authentication
that way.
thingies too? Like where it's going to send you a text message or something like that? How do you deal
Oh
with
yes,
that?
yeah. So the only thing my team don't have access to is my phone, because that's got private messages that I receive on there. So in those cases, I just need to coordinate with the team. They'll go, "Hey, Carmen, they'll see me active on Slack. Are you around? Can we send a notification?" And then I just give them the little code that comes from my phone. So that does require some communication. But the thing is, like for example, my Gmail's pretty full on with that stuff. I've got a number of team members in my Gmail. So just say I'm away on holidays for a week and someone gets locked out, there's other team members that can go in instead.
Okay, that makes sense. I know with like Gmail, there's a couple of workarounds where you can actually add an assistant to your Gmail account and they log in
Yes.
separately from you. I'm just now starting to think, I wonder if some of like the VoIP telephone numbers would solve for some of that. Because like we use dial pads, so I bet that would solve for some of that. Because I can have an assistant with my phone, like my executive assistant. You'll never get me on the phone if you call. It rings her. She
Yes.
checks all the texts and things like that. The phone is the one thing. Like I'll play with you on social media all day long, but I will not answer the phone call.
Yeah, and so for me, very few clients contact me on the phone. Some of the older clients, back in the days where I used to, be part of operations, occasionally the older ones will message me, but very few and far between. That most of them have transferred to my account manager, and then she does a better job than me anyway. So they're going to get more results if they go to her. So for me, my phone's the one thing I've kept private.
Yeah, it's like I have my personal phone number, but my dial pad business number that most people think is
Oh
my
yes.
personal number is actually monitored and stuff by Ashley. So I don't really get that. They
So
can text me, they can
I've
call
got
me, and they think it's my personal number, but it's not.
I've got a funny story about that. I hate people calling me as well. Like I just never answer the phone. And so in the early days of our business, whenever I need to put my phone number anyway, I just put my business partner's phone number. So to this day, like her phone number is like in all these random places. I'm trying to pull it back, but to this day, she gets calls for Carmen.
And that's fantastic.
She just, rolls with it.
Something about answering the phone. It's like I just don't like it. I run into other people that don't like it all the time. I will get on a Zoom call
No.
with somebody much faster than I will get on a phone call with somebody. I like being able to see.
I think what I like about Zoom calls is that it's planned. So when Jonathan schedules a Zoom call, like it's all there in my diary with the links to the person's website, their query that they've come through. It's all in the CRM. Like it's just all there in front of me, and I can sort of spend a minute beforehand just preparing myself, like sort of having some context of what the conversation is. Whereas when someone calls me, like I've got no idea. Are they trying to sell to me? Do they want a virtual assistant? Like, what's
Yep.
the deal? So there's that uncertainty for me.
Oh, very true. Very, very, very true. It's like we've started using a virtual reality platform called GatherTown to do all of our meetings.
Oh,
So I'm
cool.
getting kind of an in between because like I'm in there all the time. Like I hold office hours for my team so they can just come in and they can come to my office and see me there and things like that. And then we have AMAs and events and stuff over in our public space. So people can walk up to me, but I can see them coming and I know who it is, and like it'll turn on the camera and turn on the microphones and stuff. So I'm not like hunting down links, or I just sit there,
Yeah,
and I
that's
can even
amazing.
summon
Oh, I
people
think
over to me.
yeah, I think I'd be comfortable with that for my internal team. I've just written it down. I'm going to check it out too. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just gather.town. So
Cool.
lots of fun. Well, no, okay, so you had some other, we had fun carrying on, but I know there were some other ideas that we wanted to talk about. So I'm like looking back at my notes. Oh, this was a good one. Yeah. How do you know that they're working? Because I know, especially like this applies to even remote working, right? But it's like we have this fear that we're paying for 10 hours and we're getting 4.
Yeah. And so it's very common in the virtual assistant industry to have this, what I call spy software. You can tell I don't like it. Anyway, so what this software does is like it tracks the screen of the person, it takes pictures with their webcam and it tracks their mouse clicks. And when I looked it up, there's these whole forums dedicated to how to work around the spy software. Anyway, I just think that's a no-no. Like if you want to be a client of ours, you are not allowed to use spy software. So without the spy software, how do you know that they're working? So like it's a combination approach. So it's, relationship, clear expectations, clear communication. And so we support the business owners and the virtual assistants to work out how they're going to communicate. Are you going to have a project management software so you can see where they're up to? Are you going to use end of day reports, which is something I recommend for all new virtual assistants, which is a very brief report, which is the things I've done today, the things I'm planning on doing tomorrow, and any outstanding questions I have for you. And so that often like ties the day up in a bow. So for me, I don't care if my virtual assistants are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and they just like watch Netflix for 20 minutes in the day.
Yep.
Occasionally I do that too. I probably should be going for a walk, but
TikTok.
because they're knowledge workers, like their energy is more important to me than their time.
Yep.
And you've alluded to flexible work hours, so I'd love to hear your views on this.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. It's like the number of ridiculous workarounds I've seen for spy software is just like, I mean, people tying their mouse to like a fan or like the little
Yeah.
vibrating pad that they can put the mouse in that'll just like, come on. I'm not going to go look at that and like how intrusive would that feel? Like I cannot
I'll tell
even
you what, you
imagine.
don't want to see my screen
No,
sometimes of the
and you
day.
don't want to be randomly taking pictures of me with my camera either, because like, no idea what I'm doing that day, none at all. And or even who's walking by in the background.
Yeah.
Don't need to see any of that. I remember what it was like working corporate America, and like I racked up 130 something computer violations where I was like
Yeah.
trying to hack around their stuff because I was just trying to get to websites I wanted to look at, and I was like hacking around, and like I figured out you could use Google Translate as a proxy server, translate any
Oh.
web address that you couldn't get to from any other language to English, even if it was originally in English. And so
Ah.
I racked up a lot of computer violations, and they started removing things like solitaire from my computer and like all kinds of stuff. And I can't even, and that was before it got as crazy as it is now with webcams and all this. So yeah, I hate the spy software. Hate the spy software. And it's like, for me, it's more about this is the job that I needed to have happen. Did it get done?
Yeah.
If I pay you for 8 hours because I thought that thing would take 8 hours and you got done 4, great, go enjoy your other 4.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
don't see the
I
reason to
yeah.
think about it any other way. Like, I don't want to sit here and review clicks and screenshots, and I just want to be able to go to the client and be like, "Hey, we got your project done."
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think if your team are feeling like connected to you, connected to your business, then they're more likely to put in their discretionary effort. You know, those extra bits where they're like, "Oh, Christina, I've done this," or "Oh, I've had this idea," or I've created this. And those things are so valuable to us in our business.
Well, I think that's the thing I hear most people complain about with VAs, or even just with employees that they think are like a bad hire, is they're like, "Oh, they're not as motivated. They don't have they're not taking as much initiative. They're not, they don't care about my company as much as I do." And it's like they're never going to. But there
Mm.
are different levels of employee. There's ones that show up for a paycheck and they're going to just check off a to-do list and be like, do, 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 do. And then there's ones who are going to be like, I really want to see you succeed and I want to be part of this and I can help create parts of the job and like I'll help build SOPs. Like that's my entire team right now. We're just now starting to hire more of the like to-do list people. I needed
Yes.
people that would help me build the job roles. It's like, hey, I want to improve our client communication. So let's hire people that can build the process for communicating with clients. Like take
Yes.
what I'm doing, make it better.
Mm.
So I know that kind of rolls up into something else I wanted to talk to you about, like hiring VAs that take initiative.
Yeah, I think initiative is the number one thing business owners ask for, and I think we need to think about it two ways. One is when our recruitment team susses people out and they work out what sort of role they want. Some people like ticking things off a list and just quietly working away and just having certainty in their role. So some people that's just heaven. Sounds like a nightmare to me, but it's heaven to other people.
Oh,
And we
same.
need those people in our business. But some people, they like to get excited and go, "Oh, Carmen, you've gone manic. And yes, what are we going to do? And can we do it this way? And whatever." Now, so we can like find out what sort of person they are and hire, if the later person for a role that requires initiative. But for someone to show initiative, it requires for them to feel connected to you and your business. And so this is where the business owner has a huge role in this. How are you building the relationship? Are you talking to your virtual assistants, not just to delegate, but are you talking to them as people? Are you asking them questions? Are you sharing stuff about yourself? Are you laughing with them? Are you sharing with them that you appreciate their initiative, even when they suggest something, that might be a little bit off the mark and whatever, but sharing with them that you appreciate it. So you can hire someone that's got the capacity and the desire for initiative, but you need to nurture it.
Yeah, I think that is like I love that idea so much. I mean, that was part
Well,
of
it
like
sounds
when
like you
we
do a
started
great job in
using.
nurturing it.
Yeah, we tried to. It's probably what I like about GatherTown because I realized that I had people that worked for me that I'd never met because I had
Yes.
delegated so much that it's like I wasn't part of hiring everybody anymore, and it was like they weren't hearing from me and getting excitement from me, and we were just kind of floating along. So it's like when we implemented GatherTown and office hours, people started feeling a lot more comfortable coming to me and asking questions. They knew when I was going to be available. It's like I embedded my calendar outside of my office so they can walk up and see what my schedule is, see when I'm going to be available. And it's like that has really helped. That and weekly staff meetings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I feel like that too. So we've got people that are, management level, and I meet with them often. And the rest of the team, I might not meet with them one on one. Like we're not working one on one on a project together. So like occasionally, I'll just organise to meet everyone one on one and talk about their face painting business or whatever. And but in between that, there's the team meetings where we have a chat, and there is that connection. I get to know them in that context.
I know we've had to like make time for just random conversation, just chit chat, because it's like without that, they don't. Like, I hear a lot of people that create culture codes and things like that, but those are just dusty documents. If you're not meeting with them or letting them see you, or I know bigger businesses, they talk about doing things like a company newsletter or something that comes from like the CEO where they can actually hear from you and your vision and what's going on. Stuff like that's
Yeah.
really important. Just that relationship relationship overall, though, is like really crucial. So I know we're kind of wrapping up on time here, so I want to circle back. Like, I know not only are you helping people find VAs, but you're helping them with like the relationship with their VAs and all these processes so that it's successful. If somebody's interested in all of that and like, yes, please, this sounds amazing. How do they find you and like who do you work with?
Yeah. So if someone wants to explore how this could work for them, like the sort of things virtual assistants can do, some of the more information on some of the tips I've given today, they can check out our website at globalteams.com.au. It's got a whole heap of free resources on there. And the sort of people we work with are business owners who, like, you know, they're open to feeling a little bit uncomfortable. The first time you delegate, it's a little bit uncomfortable. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have every single I's dotted and T's crossed, because if you did, I wouldn't believe you anyway. No business owner does. So someone who's imperfect but like open to learning how to communicate, learning how to delegate, you know, receiving feedback on that, and, you know, someone who's excited to get support to grow.
Ah, that is absolutely awesome. And they can just message you somewhere on social media and talk to your VA.
Yeah, if you want to talk to Jonathan, find me on any of the platforms and he'll be your man.
That's absolutely amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. I think there's been a lot of really good insights and kind of under the hood of working with a VA, which I think is really important for people to understand.
Absolute pleasure, Christina. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Entrepreneurs, you can also head over to etatoday.zone and learn from other experts like Carmen who help you build a business that enables your lifestyle instead of taking over your life. Until next time.